talked about. Our next speaker holds the position of the parliamentary critic for multiculturalism. Please welcome the Hon.Liberal Jim Karygiannis.
Sister, you should be aware of what happened in Kanda Malarissa. A nun was raped, 179 churches were torched, 40,000 people were interned. The largest democracy in the world, India. I noticed in the room, we also have some friends from Pakistan. Recently, the governor of the Punjab, was shot by his own bodyguard because he dare visit in jail a Christian woman that's on death row. In Indonesia, in Pakistan, parts of China, in India, in the Middle East, it is happening continuously. Reverend Fathers, colleagues in all the levels of government, this is not something new. It happened to the Armenians in 1914 by the Ottoman Empire. It happened to the Greeks in Istanbul, millions of them, only 2,000 left. And to this day, it continues to happen. And we in the Western world just sit back and continuously allow it to take place. We in the Western world turn a blind eye. I've seen people cry here. I've seen people bring emotions here. And I've seen demands. We have to do better. And maybe we're all to blame for not having acted earlier. And maybe all of us, every single one of us, doing a little bit of soul searching, has to say, did I do enough? Did I pick up the phone? Did I call my local politician? Did I pick up the phone? Did I call the Prime Minister's office? Is our government doing enough? Are our politicians doing enough? So let's go through your demands, and there's 7. A call for prayers on an everyday basis, because what's happening throughout the world to religious minorities should not be tolerated. Investigation of discrimination. This is not something new. It just didn't happen now. It's been happening for years. And government after government after government has done absolutely nothing. Nothing. I just hope that my colleagues will just bring us more than words. And this Prime Minister will call or have his representative stand up in the United Nations and call for an emergency debate on what is happening in Egypt. I'm just wondering why the Prime Minister has not done that already. Number 3, political and economic sanctions. Hold on. This can only be done if the Western world, never mind, the whole world, not only on Egypt, but on everybody that is exercising this thing. However, you can do it in one place, the United Nations. So my question to my colleagues is, will they join me next week when we ask the Prime Minister to delegate to our ambassador that he immediately calls for an emergency debate at the United Nations, and we as Canadians lead the call for economic sanctions.
I'll just say right now, if you let me.
You know, I didn't disturb Mr. Dichart when he was talking. I don't think this is a political debate. Bob, you had your chance. I thank you for that.
I'm not going to disturb. I just want to say, I want to respond to that and say, yes, of course, we will demand that. We will. Okay. Anyways, I'll just say this: we will demand that. Thank you. We will demand that. Absolutely, that UN do that investigation. And I just say this one thing. But ladies and gentlemen, you know who dominates the United Nations. So be prepared for their response. But we will demand that. And as I pledged to you earlier, the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Parliament of Canada will do this investigation. We'll do it ourselves. We'll do it in Ottawa. Your community will be represented there. I'm going to ask Father Angelos and others to come and make a presentation. People who know about what happened in Masbero, come. We'll do our investigation, and then we can say to the world what we think that Egypt ought to do. So I'll make that pledge to you today, as I did earlier. I just want you to know that. Okay? So thank you very much.
This is not a political dialogue, but my colleague wanted to make it a political dialogue. If they were going to do that, when he had the floor, he would have agreed and he would have called for that. You only know the pain if you felt the pain. You only know the pain if your family was also uprooted, moved, and butchered. And my family was. Now, let's go on to demand number 6. Refugee status in Canada. I really hope that my colleague, C.S. Liang, that sits in the Immigration Committee and is the Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister, will certainly consider not just talk, but action. Stop immediately all the deportations to Egypt of Coptic Christians that are persecuted. There is a bill in front of the House of Commons, which is Bill C-4. This bill says that if you come to Canada en masse, by boat, as the Tamils, you could be in prison up to 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, if the scenes that we've seen are to continue, believe you me, a lot of Coptic Christians would look for exodus from Egypt. So a lot of Coptic Christians, if they were to arrive in our shores, I'm just wondering if Bill C-4 was also to apply to them. Folks, we got a lot of work to do ahead of us. And I will say one thing. In 1939, August the 14th, I could be wrong on the date, Hitler said, "Who remember the Armenian genocide?" We as Canadians, as Christians, as Muslims, as Buddhists, as Hindus, we cannot allow what is happening there Because in a couple of years down the line, when this is going to escalate, and where there's going to be sectarian cleansing in Egypt, today, this very day, we cannot say who remembers what happens at Nagamati, who remembers what happened in Alexandria with the church last year. I remember. I was there. I've seen it. I walked the streets. And I probably was at the church that this thing happened. You can never forget. You shall never forget. You dare never forget. You got to take action, and that action has to be done today. So I join with my colleagues in demanding all this. We would ask of the government of Canada to do nothing less. And I'm even shocked and amazed that they haven't done those things already. Thank you for having me.